Hi there, this is Ronnie, Amber's Night, coming at you, and I thought I would do a, not so much a review as an overview of Kult, which is, for those who have watched my top 5 RPGs, is my number 2. It is a modern day horror game. I'm going to give an overview more of the system more than anything else. I really don't want to get into the background, and the reason for that is, for anyone who thinks about maybe grabbing a hold of it secondhand, um, I really don't want to give the background away in case you want to play it. It's far more fun if you don't know in advance. Suffices to say, it's a modern day set horror game. It is, although there are rules in it to allow characters to play your standard monsters, vampires, werewolves, what have you, the game is mostly about everyday humans. The game uses a D20 system. Now, when I say D20 system, I'm not talking D20 as a Neo Geo. I'm talking about a system that never uses any other die other than one 20-sided dice. But we'll get to that. There are 8 stats that you start with, as he flicks to the back of the book to the character sheet. And the 8 stats are agility, comeliness, perception, strength, ego, education, constitution, and charisma. All are fairly self-explanatory. Your ego throw is used, your ego score is used pretty much as your psychological balance, and is used to decide your mental balance, your sanity. All horror systems need to have some sort of sanity score. Call of Cthulhu has pretty much made that the standard bearer. There are 2 ways of acquiring the statistics. The statistics range from 1 to 20. You can either roll 8 d20s and assign the points as in if and where, or you can spend 100 points and start dotting them about that way. That ensures that you're never going to have an overly powerful character in any one field, which I think is a good thing. Actually, it's not 1d20, it's 2d10 for each of the stats. 1d20, boom. From there, you get derived bonuses, your initiative bonus, damage, any modifications to your ego throw. And then you get skills. Now, your skills is a point-buy system, and there are all skills have a controlling statistic. The point-buy system is that you can buy the skill for 1 point per point, up to the value of the controlling statistic. So if you have a strength of 12, you can buy all your strength skills at a 1 point per point, up to 12. After that, it's 3 points a point, up to a top score of 20. The only problem we've had with this game, and it's one that had to be house ruled very quickly, is I ran a game involving FBI. And in the game you have 3 levels of points, depending on the experience of the characters. If you wanted everyday normal people, you only had 50 points for skills. If you wanted someone semi-experienced, it was 100 points, and if you wanted someone very experienced in the field, it was 150 points. we pointed out an atypical FBI agent. It worked out at about 500 points, so that's pretty much been the standard. But if people want to use them with far less points, that's great. So you get your points, which gives you scores and several abilities. Like Call of Cthulhu, certain abilities have a set value to start with, particularly some of the combat skills start you off at 3 points, which is nice. The idea is that any bloody fool can pull a trigger. Anyone can actually slash with a sword. You might not be very good at it, but at least you can pick up a sword and swing. So there is a derived value for that. Then we get to actual skill use. Now the skill use, as I say, is a d20. And it's a roll under. If you have a score, let's take a skill. If you have a hide skill of 14, you roll your d20, you're looking to roll under 14. If you roll under, not only is it about rolling under, it's about rolling under as much as possible, because the actual gap between your score and what you roll determines the level of success. If you happen to roll under 10% of the skill, it's a critical success. Now, if your score falls underneath 10, you're not really going to get a critical success. The rules pretty much say a 1 is a critical, but I pretty much play it as a 1. You can't get a critical success if your skills are very low. If your skills are in the teens, obviously you'll get a critical success on a roll of 1. If it's in the 20s, because skills can be raised as you proceed along, it would obviously be 1 or 2 would be critical. And in essence, what a critical does is add 10 points to the success on weapon skills, and it obviously the GM has a fair amount of flexibility as to what that success means in gaming terms. If you are hacking a computer and you score a critical success, you might just happen to find an immense amount of information, more than perhaps you were looking for. You suddenly become a bona fide Penelope Garcia. For those who watch Criminal Minds, you know who I'm talking about. Rolling a 20 is seen as a critical failure. I have a slightly different rule with that, in that if your score is 20 or above, a roll a natural 20 is still meant to be a critical failure. I've removed that rule and just said that it's a failure but not a critical one. And it's just a matter of finding balance. Combat is very simple. Each roll a d20, you're rolling under your skill. Obviously there will be various modifiers depending on range. If you're going for a called shot, if you succeed in hitting the target, you roll your d20 again. Each of the weapons, and I will flick to one of the weapons here. As you can see, all the weapons have various stats underneath them. You'll see them there: SCR, LW, SW, and FW. Starting for scratch, light wound, serious wound, and fatal wound. And you'll see the numbers underneath them there. You roll your d20. On that Glock 17, you roll your d20, you roll an 11. It's a serious wound. If you, however, scored a critical success with your hit roll, you add 10 to that roll. So in that case, if you rolled an 11, it would become a 21. It's a fatal wound, your guy is dead. It's one of the really, really nice things about this system. It really is a one-shot kill system. You can die by any bullet. There is a certain safety involved with games like D&D and anywhere that has some sort of derived hit points, where you can survive reasonably, unless you're using something like a hit location table. You could actually survive something silly like a shot to the head. I mean, you can call it a graze or something. But in this one, if you roll a fatal wound, you're gone. Dead. Boom. This creates a great deal of tension in any game, because any attempt to walk into combat, you run the risk of never walking out again, which I think is perfectly fine. It's not meant to be a walk in the park. It does have a thing called hero points, which allows you to double up in skills. I've never used the hero point system in this. It's not because it's in any way complicated. It's simply it's a horror game, folks. It's not meant to be fun and survivable. It's meant to be bloody tough. So I don't use the gaming system. You can, if you want, become these creatures of the night, or the bête noire as they're called, which is vampires and so on. And they, if I were to use a mixed bag with some bête noire and some humans, I might use the hero points system then, just to give the humans half a chance. The background is stunning. I don't want to say anything about it other than the fact that it works really well. And it's one of those ones that is wonderfully consistent in its own logic, but is flexible enough that you can apply anything to it. At the moment, I'm looking to use Kult to run a game based on the True Blood television series. I have a few rule systems that I could actually use for that, but I'm going to go with Kult because it's one I know. Characters creation, whilst a little long and drawn out because of point buy, it's not that drawn out, and the actual mechanics are so simple because everything's run off a d20 that it's just so easy and fun to use. And I've also, as I said in my top 5, I have used this game just for straight up investigation, no supernatural elements involved at all. I've tended to write a lot of games involving serial killers. For some strange reason, I have a knack for serial killers. I don't know what that says about me. I would urge people, if you can find this game, it's very difficult to track down, sadly. If you can find it, get it. I know there's been more than one edition. This is the first edition I have. I know there's been more than one edition. Get it. It's a wonderful game. It works very well as a modern day game. You could use it as a modern day spy game if you wanted, with absolutely none of the supernatural elements in it. Or you can start introducing the supernatural elements into it as you go along, which is what I tend to do now. If there's any complaint about it from my players, is the fact that some of the lesser creatures in the bestiary are really, really difficult to beat. They're really difficult to kill, which makes it very top heavy in terms of survivability. I have 2 things to say about that. One, it's a horror game, folks. It shouldn't be necessarily easy to survive. And 2, it's a really good game to maybe use one of those creatures at the very end and sort of run and lead up to it. So I'm coming towards the end of this 15 now, so I will just say find the game if you can. It's a very simple game, very easy to use, runs really quickly, and I would recommend it highly for anyone wanting a really flexible, enjoyable, really dark, and I've never let an under 18 play this game ever, really dark, mature themed, modern horror game. So go out and find it and enjoy.